Learn like a pro.
What if I told you that everything that moves in the universe, from a simple falling apple all the way up to an orbiting planet, is all running on a perfectly balanced accounting system? Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down today. We're going to look at energy not as some kind of mysterious force, but as a currency that's being tracked second by second in a universal ledger. All right, here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll crack open the invisible vault where energy is stored away. Then we'll learn how to actually read the dashboard that measures it. After that, we'll uncover this hidden tax that messes with, well, pretty much all real-world systems. We'll see the whole ledger in action with a falling object. And finally, we'll reveal the one big universal law that makes sure the books always balance. So let's get started with a bit of a puzzle. Think about an object that's just sitting there. It's high up, but it's not moving at all. Where exactly is its energy? I mean, really think about it. This ball on the shelf has the potential to do something, right? It could fall, it could gain speed, it could make an impact on the floor. That potential is the energy. It's not the energy of motion, not yet. It's stored in the relationship between the ball and the earth itself, in its position, kind of like a stretched out spring just waiting for someone to let it go. Honestly, the best way to picture this is to think of energy as currency. It gets stored in these physical accounts. And just like money sitting in a vault, it's there, it holds value, and it's ready to be withdrawn or transferred. But here's the most important rule of this whole system. The total amount has to be accounted for, always. No exceptions. So in our energy ledger, we've got two main accounts to worry about. First, you've got kinetic energy. That's the energy of active movement. It's all about speed. Then you've got potential energy. That's the stored stuff, the energy of position, which is all about height. You can think of it like this. One is money being actively spent, and the other is money just sitting in the bank. Okay, so if these are accounts, how do we actually check the balance? We need some way to read them, right? What we need is an energy dashboard with some gauges to tell us exactly how much juice we're dealing with. And here they are, our two main gauges. For gravitational potential energy, the reading is based on its mass, gravity, and height. The higher you lift something, the more that needle on the gauge just climbs and climbs. And for kinetic energy, the motion gauge, its reading is 1/2 times the mass times the velocity squared. Now, that little squared symbol on the velocity, that is not a minor detail. Oh no, that is a total game changer. It means if you double your speed, you don't just double your kinetic energy, you actually quadruple it. It's this exponential kick that explains why even a small, fast-moving object can pack such an incredible punch. So this leads to a pretty logical question. If energy is always conserved and just gets moved between accounts, then why does a bouncing ball eventually stop bouncing? Why does a pendulum stop swinging? I mean, where does all that energy go? Well, in a perfect theoretical world, a world with no friction, no air resistance, things actually wouldn't stop. A pendulum would just swing back and forth forever. The energy would just transfer perfectly from its potential account at the top of the swing to its kinetic account at the bottom and back again. The total amount would stay exactly the same, a perfect closed loop. But we live in the real world, and in the real world, that perfect loop gets broken. Forces like friction and air resistance, they act like a dissipation tax. Every single swing, a tiny bit of energy gets pulled out of the system and moved into a third account, and that's usually heat, just warming up the air and the pivot point. We call this dissipated energy. It's the tax that gets paid to the surroundings, and it's what defines the efficiency signature of any system. Now, the energy isn't destroyed, not at all. It's just been transferred into a form that's not useful for the pendulum's motion anymore. The universal ledger is still perfectly balanced, but the spending cash in our system just went down. Okay, time to put all this together. Let's step into the role of accountant for a simple object in free fall, and watch this ledger balance itself out in real time. So let's just follow the numbers here. At the very top, we've got a 2-kilogram ball, 10 meters up. Its potential energy account is maxed out, holding 200 joules. Now, in a perfect vacuum, as it falls, every single one of those joules would transfer over to the kinetic account for a total of 200 joules of motion energy right before it hits the ground. But in the real world, let's say air resistance charges a 20-joule tax. That energy dissipates as heat, leaving only 180 joules in the kinetic account at the very end. But look, the total is still accounted for. 180 plus 20, that's our original 200. The books balance. So what's the ultimate point of all this? These transfers, these accounts, these taxes, they all operate under one of the most fundamental, rock-solid laws in the entire universe. And this is it. This is the final ledger. And it always boils down to one simple equation. The total energy you put in has to equal the useful energy you get out, plus all the so-called wasted energy. Always. It doesn't matter if you're talking about a fallen coconut or a super complex engine. At the end of the day, physics is really just the job of tracking these transfers. And there it is. That's the golden rule, the principle of conservation of energy. It is the final, non-negotiable statement from the universe's accounting department. Energy can change forms, it can move from place to place, it can be transferred, but the grand total never, ever changes. So the next time you see a car hitting the brakes or a ball bouncing or even just feel the heat coming off a light bulb, remember the ledger. All the energy is still there, it's just being shuffled between different accounts. The question for you is, now that you know the rules, where else do you see this cosmic balance sheet in action?